Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Again, my name is Joy and this is the second video of my celibacy story. If you have not had a chance to watch that first video, definitely go to my channel, Joyful Joy, and watch that first video. And if you like the context in the video, share, subscribe, leave a comment. It is greatly appreciated. And again, welcome to my channel. So if you guys remember in the first video, I talked about how on January 18th, 2017, I received the gift of the Holy Spirit, and for the first time ever, I heard myself speaking in tongues, and I knew that my life had changed forever. So, I was excited. I was on fire to live for God. And after everything happened, we celebrated. You know, it was just a joyous moment. And I started putting things in order to live my life for Christ. And on that Sunday following my gift, I remember sitting in the car with my then fiance and talking to him about living for God. And at the time we were living together, and yes, we were living in fornication. And I told him, I'm not gonna half-step this relationship with God. I have to live for Him fully. And that means that you and I cannot live together. That means that you and I have to be celibate until we get married. And we were set to get married later on that year. I believe it was in August. It was August 5th, I think. It was in August. It was either August 5th. If August 5th is a Saturday, it was August 5th. But I told him we just couldn't live together. You know, we had to pursue a celibate relationship. And he agreed with me, and you know, he agreed to come on the journey with me, and I was excited. He even talked about moving in with one of his friends until we got married. So you can imagine my surprise come the next Thursday, and I'm sitting at work. It was about 10 a.m. and I got a text message from him, and it said, I don't think I want to get married. And I thought it was a joke. I honestly thought it was a joke. I believe my response was, ha ha ha, cold feet. And that's when he responded again, and he said, why do you want to get married? And I said, because I love you, and because our bond, especially over the last few months, lets me know that we'll be able to overcome anything in marriage. And after a few text messages, he told me, I don't want to get married. And I remember sitting there trying to hold myself together, trying not to cry. And my best friend sat next to me, and he looked at me and said, what's wrong? And I handed him my phone so he can read the messages. And he said, come on, let's go for a walk. And we went for a walk, and I remember him telling me, you can't do this through text message. You have to talk to him in person. You have to understand what's going on with him. You have to understand why he's feeling the way that he's feeling. He said, Joy, you're an awesome woman. So I know he wants to marry you. This has to be cold feet. And he said, you guys should also definitely get counseling. And I went home because we were still living together. We were living in separate bedrooms. We were pursuing a celibate life, but he hadn't moved out just yet. And I talked to him and I asked him, where is this coming from? And I remember telling me he didn't think that he could be a good enough husband for me. And then he said, I also think you deciding to be celibate is a selfish decision. And I understood where he was coming from. But I wanted to live for God. I wanted to live my life for God. I wanted to serve God. So me trying to keep us together, I told him, hey, we can go to the courthouse. We can get married. We don't have to let anybody know. And then we can have the official wedding in August as planned. And his words were, you are trying to trap me into marriage. And he told me, I don't want to get married. And I don't want to talk to anyone about it. And as I stood there, Jeremiah 29 came to my head. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and future. And one thing I had to learn about God's plans, they are not Burger King. And you do not get to have it your way. So the next day I woke up. I went to work. I didn't tell anybody because I didn't believe that this was my life, that this was happening to me. And I remember my manager calling me in his office and saying, hey Joy, we have this opportunity for you and you're gonna get to travel for the next few months. And you're gonna be leaving next week. And this was God ordering my steps, because they say the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. He started to order my steps. And I got sent to Orlando. I think it was for about a week. And when I came back, he had moved out. And I couldn't cry. I had no tears. I felt numb. numb. I felt like I was living in somebody else's life. This wasn't my life. These were not the plans that God had for me. They couldn't be. They couldn't be. And I remember a few days later, I got an email from the venue saying the venue had been canceled. And I got a phone call from a guy who was making our wedding dresses. And he said, hey, your fiance called and canceled the dresses. No, he sent me a text message and canceled the dresses. I'm not sure if somebody is playing on his phone, but I wanted to call you and confirm. And I told him, hold off. To hold off. Because in my head, I was gonna pray him into marriage. I was gonna pray and fast him into marriage, into the will of God. And I hadn't told my parents. I hadn't told my bridesmaid. I hadn't told anybody but my best friend. And I remember calling him, my fiance, and saying, if you do all of these things, you're going to lose me. If you do this, if you're doing this, you're going to lose me for good. This is embarrassing. This is humiliating. This is shameful. I've told everybody. My family is coming to this wedding. All the way from Kenya, they're coming. Like, how can you do this to me? I started praying. And I was like, God, why? Why? Why are you doing this to me? And he told me, because you're unequally yoked. And I remember telling him, then make us not unequally yoke us. And I said, God, I'm praying and I'm fasting for him, and I want you to change him, and I want you to change his heart, and I want you to change his ways. God, put him in your will, just like you put me in your will. You're God. You can do that. You can do that, God. This doesn't have to happen. You're amazing. You're all-knowing. You're it. Make him be in your will. And he said no. And the next day, I woke up and I took a screenshot of the messages that he had sent me, telling me that he didn't want to marry me, get married. And I say marry me because at the time, it felt like rejection. It felt like I wasn't good enough. It felt like he was leaving because of me. because I wasn't the one. I was so hurt. I felt not good enough. I felt unwanted. I felt unattractive. I felt like a loser. I took that screenshot and I sent it to my mom. And my mom called me. And she told me, from here on out, I want you to pray this prayer. Not my will, but your will, God. Cover my shame. And give me strength. Not my will, but your will, God. Cover my shame and give me strength. That was my prayer for the next few weeks. That was my prayer when I wrote to my bridesmaid and told them the wedding was off. That was my prayer when I wrote to the groomsmen and told them that the wedding was off. That was my prayer every night for about a month. That was my prayer. And the thing about that prayer is, God heard me. I never thought in a million years I would be sitting here telling the world my story. I never thought my story would heal people. I never thought, I never knew that God would put me in the place that I am. But He is faithful. He's seen me through every single storm. He continues to be faithful. He continues to remind me that His plan is the best plan. And I've continued to say, I'm gonna live for Him. I'm gonna wait for His plan. So, you're gonna have to come back to hear the storms that I went through, and also to hear how I put the pieces back together and started living my life again. I did get to a point where I was so sad and I broke down. But you're gonna have to come back to hear about it. Thank you for watching. Definitely share the video definitely subscribe. And I will see you on the